Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is responsibility and non-responsibility. Non-responsibility is kind of an interesting concept because it means you're irresponsible, doesn't it? And then responsibility is kind of a bummer because that just feels so heavy and burdensome. Like being a grown-up is a burden. Responsibility implies taking responsibility for other people. Now, when you're a parent, you've got some responsibilities because you've got little beings who are dependent on you for their survival, and if you're not responding to that, they will die. But any person who has a plant or a pet or even a car, come to think of it, you have some responsibility for the living things in your house or your vehicle or your life in general, because if you're not paying rent, you're going to be homeless. That sucks. Gee, this is a really boring topic. I don't know if I want to talk about it. Responsibility. Ugh. If you break it down, responsibility is the ability to respond. And when things show up, you respond to them. You have a plant with drooping leaves, you respond by watering it. You have a child who is crying, you respond by figuring out if it's hungry, wet, tired, change it, feed it, give it a nap. That actually applies to our own bodies as well. So many of us are not responding to our bodies correctly. Our body wants a nap. Our body wants to be fed. And we tend to spill over and become responsible for other people, places, and things. And it doesn't matter if you are a parent or not, because so many of us learned when we were little kids to take responsibility for our parent so that they would feed us, clothe us, give us naps, or whatever. When you shift this to a bigger or greater awareness, when you shift this to viewing this as consciousness, it's all about responding, simply responding to what is. This life is a beautiful dance, and there are so many things you can effortlessly respond to. You can respond to the temperature, you can respond to the time of day, you can respond to any number of circumstances in your life. And it's very creative because there isn't necessarily one prescribed response for something. If you're hungry, there's a variety of things you can eat. If you're tired, you can take a nap, you can rest your eyes, you can veg out in front of the TV. There are lots of valid ways to respond to being tired. Relationships are a very interesting dance of responsibility because there is something reciprocal about being and caring for someone else. You do this thing and they'll do that thing, and it's part of a dance of love and nurturing. And then there's doing stuff for other people when they are perfectly capable of putting on their own clothes and feeding themselves. So it's an interesting dance, and honestly, in this world, there aren't any mistakes. So, hey, you can go ahead and be as codependent and controlling as you want because it's all about the experience. However, if you want a different experience, you can respond differently. If you want a different experience with yourself, you can respond differently to yourself. It is amazing how much easier life is when you apply a little self-care. Your body won't be resisting you so much if you take care of it properly. Now, responding to something is completely different than reacting to something. And I've heard people confuse this idea of coming into the world and being in reactive mode, and then they're reacting to all sorts of things. And for me, there's a level of unconsciousness when you're reacting. That's allowing your body to have strong emotional responses to things, and it's not coming from your greater consciousness. It's coming from your emotional body, your reactive body, your body that is in constant survival. When you're truly operating as consciousness in the world, your response is sometimes slightly amused at any drama that is going on. So you're not reacting to something, you're responding to it. You're responding to it in the moment. Or if you're choosing not to react, you might wait 24 hours to respond to it, because nothing ever needs to really be responded to right away unless you're getting your family out of a house because there's a fire. And then cooler heads prevail because you need to be thinking clearly as you're getting out of that house. It's so interesting when we start to focus on consciously creating our lives, how we will put out our affirmations, or we'll do our vision boards, or we'll decide what we want to do, and then we don't respond differently than we've always been responding. It's like, well, I'll put it out to the universe will deliver it to me. And then you don't do anything to allow that to happen, to change your receptivity for something to show up in your life. And it's not that you have to do, try, change, fix, or manipulate anything. It is shifting your response to the world that shifts your energy, that shifts your circumstances. It's not something you can think of, preconceive. It's a very intuitive thing. When you respond rather than react, it is also tremendously restorative. All that emotional energy that was expended in reacting to things suddenly can be reused in positive ways to respond differently and to fuel your actions to creating something that's a lot more fun to experience. So just take a look at your life and see where you might be overreacting to something, or someplace else where you could be responding differently, and try that out. See what happens. Your whole life could transform. If you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. You can also like or comment or share them with your friends and followers. And if you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I put out a weekly radio show and podcast where you can hear more about these concepts and ideas. I also put out a weekly blog and newsletter where you can read more about the techniques that I teach. And if you want to learn more about how to navigate your life as the greater consciousness that you are, you can go to my website, joan-newcomb.com. Look at my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com, and I'll see you in another couple days with another Mystic Minute.